as well as the profile activity. We don't need it on our register activity. Our register sign-in users got to enter the app first, authenticate themselves before we need to worry about that. Okay. So I'm going to go to my main activity, open up my main activity, and I'm going to open up the layout file, the activity main.xml. So on here up at the top, I can add it in my design view. If I go to layout, if I go to containers, we have the toolbar. So I'm going to add the toolbar component on. And I'll just go into my text view. So notice it gives us the Androidx Toolbar. I'm going to move this up to the top. I mean, it doesn't really matter if it's at the bottom of our XML because we're going to use constraints to locate it anyway. But I'll put it up at the top. I'll just leave it with an ID of toolbar. Don't really need to change it. And I'll constrain it to the top. And then we'll take our edit text, which is currently anchored to the parent. We'll want to change that top anchor and put it below the toolbar. So I'm going to change here my edit text name, which is anchored to the top of parent. I'm going to anchor that to the top to the bottom of my toolbar. So now our edit text should appear below our toolbar. So that should be all we need to do inside of the activity layout itself. So now we want to go into the onCreate method in our main activity, and we want to initialize the toolbar. It's here, but I think if we run it, let's just see what happens. We'll see if we notice anything different just by putting the control, just by putting the view in our activity. It's very soothing. So we'll sign in. So here's the issue. We actually have both. So here is the app bar. So Vlad, coming back to your question, right? If I haven't disabled the app bar, I now have two. The application bar, and here's our new toolbar. Now, you may want that, but in our case, we don't really want it. So I'm going to disable this one, or I guess, well, you suggested we could disable it just in the activity itself. Okay, So let's open up the main activity, Kotlin file. So in our on create, right after the content view. So Vlad, how do you want to disable the default toolbar in here? Yep. 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 Right. Okay, so this is how, yeah, normally how we enable it when there's no toolbar. So you're saying this will also override the default, so this one will go away? Okay, haven't tried it that way, but let's try it. Normally I disable it through the Android manifest globally. We'll try that as well, but now our toolbar here, this empty green bar, that's ours. And again, we can change the color if we want. Maybe we don't want it to use the app primary color. We may want something else. So we get our default action bar. Yes, it crashed. Okay. Now let's see if it crashes if we take out in Android manifest, if we change the theme. So here we've got style app theme. So we're going to try changing this to using the no action bar theme. How do I want to do this? Let me think for a minute. So we'll change this to style theme app compat light no action bar. Now this will also remove it from the register activity. Just want to see if this lets it load on our main activity without crashing. So I've changed the theme to the no action bar theme. So we will not have a toolbar except when we load an activity that explicitly we've added the toolbar to. So our startup activity shouldn't have a toolbar. And that's fairly normal. So for example, here's the main screen of this app. There is no toolbar on kind of the splash screen. You might expect that. Yes, the Androidx app compat.widget.toolbar. When you drag it, that's the one you automatically get. Okay, well maybe this isn't our problem because my app's not reloading. Mind you, it might be my emulator is now. We shouldn't have to because we're using the Kotlin synthetic. Yeah, it's my emulator that died. When we use the Kotlin synthetic reference, you don't have to declare any of the views. They're automatically accessible. So it isn't required with Kotlin synthetic. Yeah, it's actually just the issue is actually my emulator. I'll just stop it and shut it down and restart it. Did anybody's load? Do you get your toolbar? Yours does? Yours doesn't? Oh, still compiling? Okay. Yeah, my emulator. Yeah, my emulator's conked out on me. Okay. I will try it again. We'll see if I can load it. So we're going to need to build a menu XML file. We need to then handle the individual code for each option in the menu. So we'll have to do that as well. Okay, so my emulator has kind of conked out, so I'm going to need to cold boot it. So while I do that, we may as well go ahead and build our menu. So I'll do a cold boot. Okay. So I'm going to go over, while this is running, I'll right click my resource folder, my RES folder. I'll let that boot. So I want to create a new Android resources file. I'm going to call the file, what do I want to call it? We'll call it menu main, and the resource type is menu. So in here, we'll define some options that will, and then we can attach our menu to the toolbar. I right-clicked the resource file, the resource folder. I pick new Android resource file, and make sure you choose type of menu. And you'll notice, once I've done that, it actually creates a menu subfolder because I picked the type was menu. We didn't have this resource menu subfolder before, but because I said it's not a, because it's of type menu, it creates that folder and puts the file inside. Resource. Android resource file, and change the type from values to menu. Okay, I'm going to try and run my app again now. And then we can go into the text property and we can build out our menu. See if my app actually runs yet. Okay. I'll try again to sign in. Okay, so It's because we use the light theme. So we can change the colors of our toolbar now. We set it to light with no action bar. So I think we could go back if we want to restyle that menu. So in our toolbar, actually, hang on a second. I'm just going to undo that change and see what happens. We'll put it back to how it was. We'll see. So I've undone the changes. No, it doesn't like that very much. So what options do we have for no action bar besides light? We have a day-night no action bar. I don't really know what that's going to look like. We can try that. We have to play around with how it looks. I'll try a different option here. We'll see. Still light. Okay, I'm going to leave the look of it for now. We'll try to get it to work. Sorry? Right. Okay. So I'll have to see what other options we have for the no action bar. What other themes? So we've tried light because we do want to disable. I guess the other option is we could just try simple no action bar, see what that gives us. No, turns the whole app dark. I think I'll put it back to light. We'll just leave it this way now. At least it's functional. So we'll go into our main and we want to add a couple of item tags. Actually, you may want 3. So we'll add in an item. So the first item will go to our main activity. We're going to want to use a string resource here. So we'll create a string resource called add artist, and that'll be the first option will go to the main activity where we can add a new artist. We can give it an icon. Okay, we'll figure out our icon in a minute. I'll just leave it blank for the moment, but we'll use an icon. So there's our first item. So what we want to do is let's add a new drawable resource where we can use one of the material icons that will represent we're going to add. There's probably an add icon here. So if I right click under resource and drawable, we'll choose new vector asset. I'll click the clip art, click the little icon here. And here's an add right here. So I could choose maybe one of these icons for adding. So I'll just choose the plus. And I'll just rename it to IC add. And then we can set this as the source in our menu option. So there's a plus sign, and that goes to the main activity. So now we can point our icon we'll create this string resource. It'll just say add. And then we'll create two more menu items. We'll create a list item and then a profile item. So I'll create my string resource here. It can just say list. And then I'll go and find a suitable icon that might represent a list. So I'll go back to my drawable. We'll create a new vector asset. We'll choose so I'll maybe pick this one. We'll call it IC list. And we'll set that as the icon for our second menu item. We already have an icon for account, so we can use that one for our third menu item. So somebody can go to their profile. So I'll give this an ID of action profile. And we'll use that existing icon. We can create a string resource. So our menu will say add list profile with our three icons. Actually, I realize, all right, we may need to redo this one. Our account icon, remember we made it white because we put it on the blue floating action button. So maybe I'm going to make a I'll redo this one. I'll call it IC profile, and I'll make that one black instead. So I'll make a new vector asset. So I'll pick this account circle. And I'll call this IC profile instead. So the black one is for the profile menu option. The white one is for the floating action. We won't really need the floating action button anymore. Once the nav bar is done, we can get rid of that floating action button anyway. So I'll change this to IC profile, and then we'll see the little preview over here. So there are our three icons. It doesn't matter. I use the circular one, but use any icon you like. Doesn't matter. So now we have this menu file, we have our toolbar, but there's no connection to them. We need to actually insert this menu into our toolbar. So I'll leave this up for a minute in case you need it. And then we want to go back to our main activity KT file. And in our onCreate, we need to basically add this, attach this menu in our toolbar. So that'll be our next step. So our menu actually shows up. And then the last step will be to make these actions. We need event handlers for action main, action list, and action profile. Because just putting the menu in there, we still haven't given the app any indication what it's supposed to do with each of these menu options. So we'll have to actually handle those events when a menu option is clicked. So I'm going to go back to my main activity. So here was our section for the toolbar. So we need to override two methods here. So the first function we're going to override is just creating. So what we want is this one. We want the onCreate options menu. So in here, we want to inflate the menu main. To add the items to the toolbar. So we use the menu inflator class. This basically instantiates an instance. And we call the inflate method. And now we're pointing to our resource menu folder. And in there is our menu main. And this method returns a Boolean. Oh, sorry. We passed that. We need a second parameter here. So we're taking our main menu resource file. We're making that the menu for this activity. So if we run it now, we should hopefully see our menu in the toolbar. It's not functional, but it should be visible. But only on main activity. We haven't attached it anywhere else. So I'll just move this over here so we can see the method. And once our menu shows up, we then need another override to deal with the individual items in the menu. Because even if it shows up, there's no functionality there. We've only built the UI. Okay, where's our menu options? I'm just going to run through our steps and make sure we've added our toolbar. We've called set sport action bar, I think. So our toolbar shows up. Oh, we may need to add this. It's another namespace in our menu. And this also gives us the ability to say show or show with text. I think we want to add this namespace. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my main menu. I'm going to add another namespace, which is this one. Oops. So I'm going to add that namespace, and on here, I'm going to set the with text property. So this would show both the text and the icon. I'm going to add this. And I'm also going to add, we can add two properties here. We're going to say always, and then I put in a pipe symbol. So this is kind of odd. It allows or we could set if room. We'll see what this does. I'm going to add both. Okay. Where's our menu? Let's check our references. So we've got a reference to menu. We have a reference to Androidx. Little confused why we don't have a reference. Yep. Yep, that's exactly why. Because we're returning here. Thanks, Ron. We don't want this. Our code never executes. Yes, I use the I use the autocomplete, put that in there for the boilerplate of the override. Nice catch. Thank you. That would be why. We're returning. We never inflate or instantiate our own menu. So we'll remove that. Okay, so now we get our toolbar that doesn't do anything. We can probably get rid of our profile floating action button. I think I'll leave my logout button. It's kind of convenient down there. We can get rid of this. But now we want to make these functional. So we want to override another method. I think somehow my managed to remove my comments. So 2 overrides to display menu and handle menu events. So the other override we want is on options items selected, meaning when one of the items in the menu is clicked. And this time, fool me once, shame on me. We won't delete this, but this is going to be our else statement. So in here, we've got a few options. So we've got, we want to get the ID. Sorry, the method. We need to get the ID of the item that was clicked. If we look at our menu, right, each menu item has an ID. So we've got to interpret, we basically are using like a switch style statement. Identify which item, which ID was clicked, and then do something. So in our case, if the ID is action main, what should we do? So we're on the main activity and the user clicks the plus sign. What should we do? Which intent? So we're here. What should happen when I click plus? Sorry? Well, we want to use this for navigation. We could save, but then we're changing the functionality of it. So this is basically our nav bar. So if I'm on the profile, I want to be able to click plus, and what should happen? Where should I navigate to? Which activity do we use for adding a new artist? Main. Which activity are we on? Main. So what do we need to do if the user clicks plus from here? We could, but we only want to use this as for navigation. Do we need to load a new activity? No. So what will we do? Right, we don't need to do anything. We can just return. From main activity, if you click the button that goes to main activity, we don't have to do anything. We'll just stay where we are. There's no need to reload it. So in this case, we won't do anything. So in this case, we just say we'll just return. Okay. So in this case, already on main activity, so do nothing. So that's one scenario. Second scenario is the user wants to, sorry, this should be inside curly braces. Ugh. Sorry, bear with me for a second. I'm messing up my syntax. We don't need it here. Way too many curly brackets. There. So if they want to see the list, what do we do?